Let us all take a deep breath here as we sit through and explore and talk about Volume 2 and just Season 4 as a whole for Stranger Things. As I record this right now, I'm still kind of recovering from watching Volume 2, and I low-key do feel like I was sweating the whole time while I was watching these 2 episodes for the finale to Season 4. These last 2 episodes just wouldn't let you breathe, and they wouldn't let you rest for how much was going on. So this review is basically going to be me running through all of Volume 2 as well as giving an in-depth look at the entire season. I already reviewed Volume 1, which will be linked in the description below, so go check that out. So jumping right into it, I'm going to sit here right now, and I will not take these words back, but Stranger Things Season 4 is not only the best season of the entire show by a mile, but it is also one of the greatest seasons of television, period, that I think we have ever had. This season, regardless of it being split into 2 parts, is a damn masterpiece. Volume 1 was a very solid start, but Volume 2 closes it out in a way which just leaves you anticipating so much more for what is to come in the final season. No spoilers will be given, of course, since it is only just premiering, and I'm sure not everybody has seen it yet. I got up super early this morning to basically watch all 4 hours, and I just didn't want to get spoiled by the internet since I know the show was one of the bigger things there. And so, yeah, I did my time. I woke up early and I watched it all, and I was just in awe. So first and foremost, I would like to officially on the book say right now that more shows should adopt the idea of making all the episodes of their show an hour to more than an hour long. And I don't know what it was about this season in particular, but it just improved on so many things with just how long that runtime is, especially for the finale itself, which was 2 hours and 22 minutes long if you include the credits, which aren't that long. So it's around 215, 220 if you take into consideration without credits. So the runtime is a big plus for me, at least, and I'm sure there are some people who might not like the fact that it was as long as it was, but for me, it worked. Here in Volume 2, I also have to give another big plus to a lot of what has been done on the technical side with visual effects, cinematography, and just the overall scale and production value that is brought and seen so visibly well here in Season 4. You can very much tell that Netflix put a lot of money into this show, and as they should, considering this is the biggest thing on the service right now. So to put it to rest, you will get no complaints from me from anything from the technical side. Everything there is just really, really well done. Now, moving on to all the bigger factors that pertain to why the show is as good as it was for this season, especially with Volume 2. Let's start off with the actors. Man, oh man, did they all bring it. Millie Bobby Brown brings it here for this last part, and I will still contest to this day that she is one of the better younger actresses working today as she grows more into this industry, especially just for how young she is still at the age of 18. She has a lot of emotional and impactful scenes here in these last 2 episodes. I cannot say enough good things about her. I'll now also kind of talk about the rest of the cast in groups of people instead of separately, just because there are so many characters to talk about. So kind of segueing into that with Millie Bobby Brown's group of Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle, I thought while they were the least of all the groups that I think had a bigger presence in this season, I did enjoy all the moments that they had together. Will Schnapp, in particular, has some of the best moments here where he shows his great acting with having heart-to-heart conversations with his brother Jonathan and Mike, or just being on the edge of his seat knowing that he doesn't want to see anything bad happen to his friends. I also do think it's become quite apparent to a lot of people that there is a good chance that Will's character is going to end up coming out as gay in the final season, which it really does seem like they are teasing that as something that could end up happening. And we've seen a lot of subtle hints for it throughout Season 4, and I just hope that we don't get a massive reaction to that when it does eventually happen, if it happens in a negative light. You already know that there's a lot of people out there on YouTube and the internet that hate whenever characters become homosexual or not the typical normal type of character that you see with regards to sexuality. Here, for a character like Will, he very much makes sense to the point where we even saw hints of it even in seasons going back to Season 2, where Mike is yelling at Will, saying like, you don't even like girls. So I think this has always been teased, so I just hope that we don't see that reaction. And so bringing it back to the main group again, I really did like Mike and Jonathan. And now this is where I do come in with my first nitpick criticism of the season, which is with the character of Argyle. I want to make it abundantly clear that I have no problem with the actor or how he portrayed it, considering he actually did a really good job. Nothing of which that I dislike about this character is his fault, and after a while, I think I really dislike this character, and I just don't like anything about what he does, and that's not his fault, and it's only merely just the way that he was written. After a while, I just came to realize that I just simply couldn't take it anymore with the things he was doing. I liked him at first, but after every subsequent time they kept hammering his stereotypical nature on my face, I really started to get annoyed. It's like, yeah, I get it. The guy, for some reason, is high 99% of the time and just saying laughably dumb stuff. I don't need to see that in every scene that he's in. I just wish they had given that character a little bit more to work with, and just instead of just being one note the whole time and comedic relief. And I guess we'll now get into another group of characters as like a perfect segue for that same criticism that I have for another character. And that is moving into our adult characters, who I also think they all had a great end to their story here for the season as they tried to escape the Demigorgons and the hellscapes of Russia. So starting with the Yuri character, since I just mentioned that criticism for Argyle, I just think while he wasn't hitting it over the head as much as Argyle did, I did think that this character could have done a little bit more for just being the same crazy smuggler Russian and just stereotypical Russian that you would see in a lot of like other different forms of media that show Russian characters. And to be fair, he does have a good moment in the very last episode that made me think that, hey, maybe the guy's not such a bad guy after all. But overall, I kind of wish they didn't just also do the same thing with him. But the rest of the adult cast is just tremendous. Joyce, Hopper, Murray, and Enzo are really good here in Volume 2 for their story. And here this time around, their story actually doesn't get as much screen time as the other three do, but I still felt like it paid off in the end, and the very ending of the show leaves a lot for people to enjoy. And so now moving into the last group of characters, specifically our main ones in Hawkins. This right here is where the emotions and the craziness were multiplied by 10 and even 100. Their story and what they go through is where people are going to be bringing the tissues. And I won't lie to you, I did get emotional watching those characters go through what they go through in the final episode. It's almost like I don't even feel like I have to go through each individual character and actor at this point. Everyone here is absolutely incredible. From Dustin to Lucas to Max to Steve to Nancy to Eddie to Erica and to Robin. Everyone has such an amazing moment here in these last two episodes. And of course, I cannot talk about spoilers, but there are just some things that just get me so emotional watching what they do. There was also a massive moment that pertains to what will happen in the next season that took place in the final 40 minutes that honestly shook me to the point where I was like, whoa, are they really going to do this? Are they going there? And again, so much happens here in the Hawkins storyline to the point where it really was the most important storyline in the entire season. If this storyline had missed a lot of beats, it just would not have felt right for the rest of the show and every other story and every other plot point. And speaking of the story, it is really, really well done here. And it's also now a perfect way to delve into our main villain of the show, Vecna. And while I do admit that there have been a few exposition scenes that kind of dampered down some of the personality of this character at certain points throughout the season, I do think he is a great villain. Obviously, without going into spoilers, the way that they tie in everything that has happened in the show to this villain was really well done, and basically now completely sets up what is to come in the final season. I also think it shouldn't go without saying this, but to the actor who plays Vecna, he does an amazing job for just how much time and effort he had to put into this role and even shoot his scenes. Not only does he have to put on all that makeup for hours and hours a day, but then he also has to go and shoot the scenes and take off all the makeup off after that. So I just give a lot of props to him for that, and so I just think it's a really well designed character, especially for a practical one and one that's not really all CG. I know there's also a bunch of other very small side characters that I didn't mention that I thought were really good as well, like Matthew Modine as Papa and Paul Reiser as Dr. Owens, but they honestly didn't really get too much to work with here on these final two episodes, even if they were still good. And that the same also goes with the one military general character who I have a good feeling we might see him return in the final season, not too sure on that. And this is also kind of a way to bring up one of my other criticisms that I had for the show in particular at the last two episodes, is that I do feel like there were some things they did kind of get brushed past and we moved forward without really knowing what happened. And so I do hope that those things kind of get addressed. for next season. And to the show's credit, it really does have a lot to handle and a lot to deal with all these characters and plot lines and side characters and so on and so forth. And also, to be fair to it, some of the things do get closure and do find a way to tie up some loose ends that could have left a lot for people scratching their heads. And at the end of the day, those criticisms that I had for this season ultimately were not big enough for me to not say that this season is a masterpiece still after talking about it. I still really love this season, and to me it is a better season than season 1 was. I think over time, we do need to give this season some time to where it ranks in terms of nostalgia and iconicness, considering I think a lot of people will still look at the first season as the most memorable season out of the 4, and by no means I don't discredit anyone who still thinks the first season is the best. That first season was really good, but of course I am speaking about season 4 only so many hours after it released. So to my point, we do need to give it some more time, but as of right now, this is just where I stand on it. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of my review for Stranger Things Volume 2 and Stranger Things Season 4 as a whole. Again, I really loved this season. I think it's a masterpiece of television and one of the best seasons of television that we've ever had. And my God, man, if Season 5 is anything like Season 4, boy, oh boy, I think we are going to be having a lot more bigger discussions than the ones that we are having now. And so I just really hope the Duffer Brothers and Netflix really take all the time they need to get the final season right and have a good feeling. And I have a good feeling that they will be, because the Duffer Brothers are really good filmmakers. I hope we don't get a Game of Thrones final season type of thing, because, oh boy, you already know this is going to set the world and the internet on fire if we do. And that is not even me as a Game of Thrones watcher saying that. That's just me as somebody who didn't watch that show at all saying that. So we have to see when the time comes. I imagine if they go down the same route as they did with this season, we might not get that final season for another 2 years at the latest, considering they haven't started filming season 5 yet, which means we are probably not going to get it in summer of 2023 or holiday of 2024 at the earliest. So they could end up potentially be shooting for a summer of 2024 at the latest. But again, ladies and gentlemen, I have now come to the end of my review. I have nothing more to say for this non-spoiler review. I want to hear all your thoughts down below in the comments section, because that is where the true discussion can take place. What did you all think of Volume 1 and Volume 2 and Season 4 as a whole? Let's keep the comments respectful if you do want to talk about it, and let me know how excited you are for Season 5. I hope you all have a great day and a wonderful 4th of July weekend. I will see you all in the next one.